Hey, this is Mark Washington with your Capital Dome podcast. So, the University of Maryland is heading to Italy on a trip. It's a trip I think you can take once every 2 years. I think you can take these foreign trips. And Maryland is heading overseas, which is to their advantage because that means they get 10 practices that are official practices. It's also to our advantage, which means that we have access during those practices. And I was able to join other media members as we went over to University of Maryland and had a chance to speak to Kevin Willard and some of the players. And my big thing with Kevin Willard is when you have a trip like this, how much stuff are you putting in? How much stuff are you putting in on offense? How much stuff are you putting in on defense? And he told me exactly how much they were going to put in those 10 days of practice. How do you implement things, and how do you determine what you're going to implement? We're kind of in a preseason, so you don't want to put in too much or show too much. Is it basically vanilla?
No, I mean, I'm putting my full defense in. And we're adding a couple defenses this year because the vets know what we're doing for the most part on defense. But I'll throw the whole defense. I'll get the whole defense in the 10 practices in. That's usually the normal. I usually get everything in by 10 practices, and then you build on it. It won't be clean, but we'll have our whole defensive package in by the time we leave, and then by the time we get back, we'll probably have a good quarter of the offensive package in. So I treat this like an NBA training camp. It's intense. We're going double sessions on the weekend, individuals in the morning, practice in the afternoon during the week. So it's going to be a hard 10 days. The Italy trip is kind of the reward for the practices, the way I look at it. So 10 hard practices, 3 good games where everybody will play different combinations. But this is a great way to jumpstart of getting a lot of stuff in, so you can work on stuff once they do come back for school.
Follow all the news from Making the Cut and the MTC Media at our website, mtcwithmook.com. You'll catch all the videos, all our articles, everything that comes with all the coverage that we do. Now, we all know that Maryland has 4 good freshmen coming in there, 4 good freshmen coming in. And I had a chance to ask a couple of them, Jamie Kaiser and DeShawn Harris-Smith, questions about what's the difference as far as strength and speed from being in high school and playing on upper level AAU teams and being in college. I know we're still early on, but what's the differences in the speed and the strength from coming from your high school background to what you've experienced so far?
I'd say not too much of a difference. Definitely the strength a little bit. Older guys bump you around a little bit more. Just trying to stay as solid my base as I can while I'm playing, and work on it in the weight room. So.
And do you have any personal goals, expectations, even though you're a freshman?
No, I feel like it's too early to do that. I just want to get better throughout the summer, and then I'll evaluate that the closer the season comes.
It's still early on, but what's it like to adjust to the speed and the strength of the college game compared to playing in the WCAC and playing with Takeover?
I mean, it's definitely hard. I feel like the hardest thing for me right now is making reads faster. Like coming off ball and trying to read like the defenders and stuff, trying to make the reads as fast as possible. I feel like Coach Trevor and Coach Keith did a great job trying to get ready as much as they possibly could. So I mean, the changes is hard, but I feel like I'm really used to it as the season goes on.
You can follow MTC Media and Making the Cut with Mook on our social media handles. For IG and Twitter is MTC with Mook, and on YouTube is Making the Cut with Mook. Please subscribe, follow, do all of those things. Well, University of Maryland released their out of conference schedule, and we're not going to go all the way through it. We're going to just highlight the ones that should be highlighted, which is 2 road games, one at Villanova, which is the Gavitt games, and one at UCLA, which is a return game from last year at College Park. And then they're in the Asheville Championship, which has UAB, Davidson, and Clemson. The rest are kind of filler opponents. So Maryland will have to make hay in the Asheville Championship tournament and those games on the road with Villanova and UCLA. Now, it's easy to say those are the games that you want to highlight simply because those teams come from power conferences. But, we're not going to know until the season gets here how valuable those wins, if they are wins, will or will not be. Well, thank you for joining Capitol Dome Podcast. Please subscribe here on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And again, earlier, in the broadcast, we talked about the social media stuff that we're on. So please join us. Thank you very much. It's Marks Washington, your host.